when we get to the top. Let's welcome Vivian Sharp. You're welcome.
Vivian Louise Sharp is here before you today to speak to you about why do we mess up when we get to the top. It's all about happiness. Is happiness your goal? Do you want to be happy in this world? Let's see. Oh, we can take that down. There, I can see you all now. That's much better. In the process of writing the information for you today and coming before you, I decided that I was going to focus on happiness because to be a politician is our theme. To be a politician today is President's Day. And I said, how can I put happiness in with politics and American citizenship? So I've been wanting to write this speech for 10 years. In college, I never got the opportunity because they always made me do something else. So I decided, how and why do we mess up when we get to the top? Is it in quest for happiness? Does money make us happy? Does position make us happy? Maslow, Abraham Maslow, has what he calls a hierarchy of needs. When we get to the highest level in the hierarchy of needs, coming from the bottom, which is the physiology part of it, where you take care of the things like food, shelter, and safety. You get to the top, you're supposed to be in your self-actualization process. So I'm looking at politicians and people that I respect that are in the business world. They're at the top now because they're making lots of money. They're very powerful. And we're following them. When we put them in the office, we trust each other, right? Isn't that true? Okay. So not hardly a day goes by that we don't read the newspaper. Someone has fallen from the top, and they're back down like lobsters in the bottom of the tank trying to climb back up again. So I went to Brian Tracy. Brian Tracy is a motivational speaker. He talks about you should be happy. You deserve to be happy. But he also talks about how it's a very responsible position when you are climbing that ladder of happiness. He says happiness in life is like a smorgasbord of 100 people who went to a smorgasbord and each put food on their plate in the quantity and mix that each felt would be most pleasing to him. Every plate would be different. So I look at our politicians, our presidents, our private citizens. They all go to the top of the hierarchy of needs, and they all put their plates differently in the way that they lead their lives. But what puzzles me is why, when we get to the top, when we should be the most happiest, why do we always get into trouble and commit a crime and lie to our wives or our significant others and hurt their life with our interpersonal relationships, which we know are complex? So I look back at President George Washington, getting to the point of this speech. I look back at President George Washington, and there is a story about him about the cherry tree with a little hatchet. Well, I used to believe that story all these years, and then in my research I found out that perhaps this was coined by his biographer that wanted to put him in a good light, that he cut down the cherry tree and he didn't tell a lie. So maybe it's not a real story, a real truth. And then I looked at Abraham Lincoln, our 16th president. He wrote the Gettysburg Address speech, which was one of the most quoted speeches in history that I am told. It is reported that it was one of the most quoted speeches in history. I looked at Abraham Lincoln, and I couldn't see or find anything wrong with these two presidents. But then I looked at Martha Stewart, and I looked at our local Jimmy DeMora, and I still say, why do we mess up when we get to the top? What I would like to say to you now, Brian Tracy says, listen to your heart and be true to yourself. Why do we have money, temptations, sexual temptations, and also fame? That makes us famous. God gives us what we want. But in Luke 12:48, it says, to whom much is given, much is required. So you must always know that if you're given this large responsibility, you have to lead. One person told me that if they were a musician and they would become famous like Miss Whitney Houston, they wouldn't look to their lives to lead other children as a role model. They wouldn't want to be a role model because they felt that this would be for the parent to do. And if a child followed them and did something that was out of order or got along the way, lost their way, they wouldn't feel any responsibility. And I said, my goodness, how can you feel that way? You can't, because the parent raises the child. And a parent knows that a child is going to choose his way regardless. No matter what you tell a child, he's still going to choose his own way. So today, to make the point, why do we mess up when we get to the top? I want to show you this book. It's called Choosing Happiness, Life and Soul Essentials. Actually, when I get to the top, I don't know if I'll mess up like everybody else did. We hope I won't, because I don't want to go to jail. I don't like visiting jail. I visited one person in jail, you know, like a prison ministry, and the big iron door closed behind me. All I could think of, what about if it's a fire? Is there anybody to push that button to get that door to come open? So my happiness would be from Stephanie Dowry. She closes a chapter in here called The Power of Choosing. And she says, the power to make positive choices is arguably the greatest gift that we human beings have. It is a gift of conscience and of consciousness. Treasure it. And lastly, I would like to say to you, on your way to the top, take it slow, take it easy, and be very responsible. But remember, don't wait to be discovered. Discover yourself. Thank you.